Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Dr. Nasir Sheikh Show. I'm your guest host. My name is Dr. Nasir, and we've got something great on tap for you again, folks. It's part 6 of our Vice debates, and this is where they brought together gun owners and gun users, Republicans, Democrats, conservatives, moderates, independents, all walks, all backgrounds of life, put them together, asked some questions about what they thought of gun laws, the Second Amendment, red flag laws, defund the police, all those questions. We're going to get to that, folks, in just the next few seconds. But before we do, if you haven't done so, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, like, share, and follow us. Put your comments down below. Let us know what you think. Let's get to that video right now.
How do I defend myself and my children against two guys who have AR-15s? Tell me how. And you said yourself that the police may not make it there in time. Tell me how.
You know what? The best chance you got in a situation like that is to get out the house.
She just stated that they reach
30
far.
rounds a piece? That's 90 rounds of bullets firing through the home.
I can outrun that?
You need to get out of the house.
Oh, sir, I stand my ground. Sorry.
Thank you all for coming today. My name is Keegan Hamilton. I'm a correspondent with Vice News. Obviously, so far, the two main sort of points I'm hearing is that more guns can make you safer, from one mentality, and another is that mental health is really the solution to prevent shootings. Is there anything else, solutions-wise, that we haven't talked about could make a difference and reduce the amount of gun violence and the number of gun deaths?
I feel like actually the emphasis has not so much been put on mental health as actually community. I feel like that's what I've really been hearing from, even with the recent disagreements, like I've heard everyone here talk about community. We've had so many different ideas in this panel on how we can fix these things, and so many of them involve contributing to community in different directions.
I want to say to all of the people who have been here advocating for responsible gun use and offering your arguments and your life experience, like I really just want to say it in case no one else says it to you. Have value in your community without your guns. Like everything that you've talked about and everything that you've presented, and the skill and the intelligence and the desire to help people and to train people and to educate people, I honestly think that has nothing to do with your guns.
My staunch view is more education and training. And then also we know that we are, and thank you for saying that, valuable with or without our firearms. Whether I'm in New York, whether I'm in a country where I can't have a firearm, it's me. I am the tool. I'm the weapon. So it's me and everything I know. So the firearm is just an extension of who I am. So I appreciate you saying that. And I think no one on this panel has said more guns is the solution. I don't think anyone has ever said that this entire time we've been talking.
I want to bounce off of that and say, okay, if more guns, not the solution, is less guns a solution?
No, certainly not. And I think, a huge part of this.
See, right there. If more guns wasn't the solution, and he says less guns the solution, here comes a leftist, right? All this talk about community and, look at this gentleman back here. He was just saying the nice things, right? Because he wants to be liked. It's all about community. If we just focus on the community first, everything will be kumbaya. That's not the way the real world works. You want to talk about community? Terrorists. Are they part of the community? Or are they outside the community? Those people that commit terror, domestic, international, whatever you want to call them, right? And so are they part of our community? Whose community are they part? They're part of the terrorist community. Maybe the other terrorists like them because they're part of their community, but we don't like them. We don't want to be part of that community. We don't want to be a part of the illegal community that has illegal guns, that does illegal things with their guns, that kill, murder, rape, rob, assault and battery and all of those things. We don't want to associate with that community of people that are doing things illegally. How many times do you see somebody who bought a gun legally going out there and committing crimes that are illegal, that crimes are illegal, obviously? Do you ever hear about that? Is that what you hear about, the guy that went there, bought a gun legally and then decides to go and rob a bank, or decides to go and murder somebody, or assault and battery, or rape, or whatever? No. These are people that are already probably criminals to begin with. The majority of the time, I'd say 99.99% of the time, they're already criminals. They started something small. Maybe they held something with a knife, or maybe they committed something, with something not. Then they finally decide they needed to get a gun, and they just and then they got a bigger gun and another type of a gun or whatever. They got more guns. Community. We have a community of people that have illegal guns. We have a community of people that have legal guns. I want to be with the people and stay with the people that have legal guns because we need to protect ourselves from the community of those people that have illegal guns. Plain and simple about that.
that we have to, consider is, in fact, the economic considerations. The solution is, in fact, to hold the gun industry accountable for their marketing of violence. And so we can't continue to point fingers at the individuals who wish to have such self-determination and self-defense. We need to begin pointing fingers at systems and economic industries that have been so responsible for producing violence.
So now the gun industry is producing violence. According to this leftist lunatic lady, it's the gun industry. They're the ones that are the problem. They're the ones. They created the guns, damn it. If they didn't create the guns, we wouldn't have the problem. You want to say the same thing about the knife industry? The sword industry? The hatchet industry? What about the rock industry? What about if people just didn't mine rocks anymore, bricks, right? We wouldn't have any problems with people, using bricks and rocks, right? Or sticks or stones. May break our bones, but your names and your words against the gun industry will never hurt me.
Violence and producing massive amounts of weapons.
I imagine if the gun industry that's making billions of dollars off of firearms was pouring billions of dollars into the communities that are suffering from gun violence. Like, how would that transform our entire culture? But right now, we are living in a world where this billion-dollar industry is selling that more guns equals more safety narrative, and we're buying into it without pushing back and saying, actually, what we need is more resources for those that have been traumatized.
I wouldn't say that we're buying into it. I think we're simply recognizing the reality that there's a violent world out there and that we need to, in fact, protect ourselves. And we can't simply skip over the fact that the world is violent.
And there you go. See, she hit the nail right on the head. She realized that the world is violent. There's a lot of violence around there, and we need to protect ourselves. But at the same time, even though we're protecting ourselves, see the statement that comes out? We need to protect ourselves. So that basically shows the Second Amendment crowd, hey, you're speaking some sense there, honey. All that mansplaining that we did, maybe it did come up to your brain up here a little bit. But then, to placate the people on the left, the ones that want to abrogate the Second Amendment, wipe it out, get rid of it, don't want your guns, you know what? It's about, let's not focus on us, right? The individual now. Let's go after that mean, corrupt, money-grubbing, greedy gun companies. They're the problem. They're the ones. They're making billions of dollars. Why don't you give some reparations back to us, into our communities here, to help us?
Live in a utopia.
But the best way to protect ourselves is to prevent violence.
And that's true, it is to prevent violence, but it's also about self-determination and self-defense as well. And we have to understand that there are, in fact, mechanisms to stop violence from occurring in the first place. But the only mechanism to end violence that has already occurred, that is already going to occur, is, in fact, largely the use of firearms for many of us.
I'm hearing a lot of consensus that it's not necessarily the guns, it's the reason that people are using guns. The nuance is like, how do you tackle that, right?
I was gonna say, I think we glossed over the statement that you threw out there. You were like, so it's not necessarily the guns. I think it totally is the guns. There's a unique gun violence problem in America. We have per capita way more guns than every other country. We have a unique problem. And it's not just domestically. And the reason why everyone here who does own or regularly shoot guns, it's their weapon of choice because it is the gun. It is the most powerful weapon.
Yes.
It is capable of the most destruction. And that's why people gravitate towards it.
There's no changes to gun policy.
That's not why they gravitate to it. Honey, do I have to mansplain to almost every one of you females out there, all you ladies, all you women? Some of you, do you have to mansplain? Is that what we have to do? Everybody talks about the gun. The gun is just sitting there doing nothing. It does absolutely nothing. Somebody has to pull the freaking trigger. You want to talk about the person behind the gun, the person whose finger is on the gun. Is that a person who is sane, normal, bought the gun legally, keeping it for his own protection, using it for hunting, safety, and security. Is that the reason? Or are we going to talk about the person behind the gun that's a criminal, a drug dealer, a murderer, a rapist, a burglar, a thief? You got to put these things into specific context when you're talking about this stuff.
In this country that are not incredibly controversial and divisive. Like, how do we find that common ground and make changes that we can think, might make a difference without, triggering a second civil war in this country?
The United States Congress needs to remove all legislation it's introduced to absolve the gun industry of any accountability. And the American public needs to begin realizing that our elected officials are, in fact, advocating for such absolve of responsibility. And so I think that's very much the first step. And then I think the second step to this is, in fact, to begin producing mechanisms that would stop the gun industry from marketing and profiting in the way that it's been for so long.
I think if 100,000 people were getting sick from some cereal brand every single year and 30, 40,000 of them were dying, the government would have stepped in immediately, right? And held that brand accountable. And that's what we're dealing with guns and gun violence. We're losing historic numbers of lives.
It's really uncomfortable to wade into this conversation. A lot of people wouldn't choose to unless they were personally affected by gun violence or had their safety at risk. And so I would encourage people to sit with the discomfort because it's everybody's problem. It's not just America's problem. It's actually a global problem.
I just kind of want to draw people's attention to the fact that there have been a lot of different views on this panel, and yet we are very much pushing for a safer society where fewer people are killed by guns. This is really important for the national conversation because this is what actually drives progress as opposed to just everybody fighting on their side.
Thank you all for doing this. We put some really good ideas out there and hopefully change the way people think about this issue. So thank you very much. Thanks for coming and doing this.
We allowed to stand up?
Go for it.
All right.
So there you have it. All in all, you saw the guy there, the one in the middle, the white elitist leftist, and so he's speaking from his white privilege. I'll go ahead and use that to trigger people. And he's just, again, basically saying that, again, that whole kumbaya thing, everybody's all together. It's all about community. We're all on the same side. And so that makes him feel good because he can virtue signal that, hey, look at me. I was there. I was the last person, and I brought it all together. That we're all basically on the same team. We're all trying to, come into the same agreement. But yet, when you parse their words individually, especially those of them, majority of them were on the left, when they're virtue signaling, you saw that in between, even some of those ones that were virtue signaling the most, they ended up coming up with some defensive positions when it basically came to themselves and being protected. About the girl right over here, this girl right here, when she talked about the gun industry and everything. But at the same time, she said it's inherently violent society. There's a lot of violence out there. And the only way that it's going to happen is if people have something to protect themselves. But at the same time, she doesn't want the gun industry to profit. What are they going to do? Okay, suppose they weren't making a profit. Suppose they just made the guns, sold them to you at cost. That's a question I would ask her, right? Is it the profiteering that's bothering you? Or is it them manufacturing the guns? That's the question that I would have asked her, all right? Suppose they gave it away for free. You know what? They produced them, and they said they give it to you for free, background check, whatever that was. They don't want to make any money. They just want to arm people because they think it's the Second Amendment. That's what they have to do. And they'll eat up the costs, but they'll give you a gun free, but you go through it, purchase it legally. They don't make any money. Ask you that question. I would really like to know the answer to that coming from these folks over here. Anyways, folks, we appreciate you watching. You've been watching the Dr. Nasir Shaikh Show. I've been your guest host. My name is Dr. Nasir. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel, like, share, and follow us. Hit that notification bell, and put your comments down below. Let us know what you think. And remember, this was part 6 of the debates. We have 5 others. So find them out on YouTube. Just Google us. You'll see them up there. My final parting thought is, when you're right, and when you're left, you're wrong. See you again next time, folks. Take care and stay safe.